Motivational Monday. I hope everyone had a fantabulous weekend. Earlier time today, I hope everyone is having a great start to their week. Today, we continue to get questions, not just from the new folks, but many of our members. What is the best vibration plate for me? What is the best mode for bone density? What is the best program for weight loss? And anything else, it's never black and white. But selecting a plate, there's a few things that you should have in your foremind. And a lot of it is really to do with you personally and where you're starting at. So today I have a couple of examples of different plates. We're going to go over the different movement types. We're going to go over, what might be best for what your goals and your plans for use are. So if you're joining me today, there's a little bit of a delay before you're going to see me in Facebook land. But if you are joining me today, let me know that you can see and hear me. Today we are talking about vibration plates. I'm going to give you a link to LifePro's site where you can see just how many different vibration plates there are. And if you're just looking at this technology for the first time, it can become a little overwhelming. There's lots to know, or perceivably there's lots to know. And I hope today to just break it down and simplify in many ways the decision of whether it's helping you use the plate that you already have and understanding what to use it for, or if you're comparing vibration plates and you're not sure which one is best for you. Sometimes, the best excuse to not get started is, I just didn't know. And there was too many choices. So I just didn't pick anything. So I don't want you leaving today wondering what is the best plate for me and being more confused. So I want to make sure that you can see everything I'm about to yammer about on camera. I am going to go over here and talk about a couple of different plates. Having a quick slurp of my coffee. And what I have here on top of each other purposefully is I have two of my more preferred plates, depending on what it is that I'm doing. I do anything from medical and wellness coaching to fitness, hardcore, kicking your butt on the machine. And a lot of it is not the machine. One machine isn't going to give you necessarily better fitness results than another one. One isn't going to necessarily give you better pain management than another machine. There are differences between models for different reasons. And the first visual I want to kind of share, if you can't see already, is there's quite a difference in size. So a vibration plate, there's big ones, there's small ones, there's one with handles, there's one that have different movement styles. All becomes very taxing on the brain trying to understand what's going to be the best situation for your needs. And I think sometimes when many of you struggle is we haven't identified the needs. Everybody, this guy's talking about this vibration machine and your next door neighbor's telling you how awesome it is for their knees, and this guy's using it for his back. And you want one, and you want to move and feel better, but maybe you really haven't identified the goals. So if you're physically, let's say, walking into a gym or a therapy office and you were going to work with a trainer or maybe a physical therapist, you're going to see them for a reason. You're trying to strengthen the legs. You're trying to alleviate a back problem. You're trying to build bone density. There's lots of different reasons we hire someone else or work with someone else because we don't necessarily know what exercises are applicable to get from point A to B. What a vibration machine is an environment. It's an environment that makes traditional floor exercises less impactful on your body. You're going to get more muscular activity and physical benefits while performing exercises on the machine versus on the floor. So the hardest part, question one, about selecting a plate is which is the best one for me. Well, I want you to, if anything, be very, very realistic in what you plan to use it for. And if you can't answer what you're planning on using it for, then maybe you need to put a little bit of time and thought into, not only what are the goals, but the realistic part is be realistic in what you're going to do with it. Just because you have a vibration machine show up at your house doesn't mean you're going to turn into a workout guru. You're probably going to carry on with the same type of disciplines. Oh, I don't think I've turned this on. One moment. Oh, I haven't plugged it in. One sec. That'll help. Okay. Back to my ramble. Okay. So this model is the Rumblex 4D Plus. This model is the Mini. And the difference in size, a lot of people say, well, I want something compact. I want something small. I want something I can move around easily. When I say be realistic about what you're going to be using it for, I'm not just talking about what you're going to be doing for exercises or what the goals are as far as exercising. So the first thing I want you to consider when you're trying to decide on which vibration plate is best for you is what are you going to be using it for? What are the goals? You may have one, you may have two, you may have several. But part of selecting a machine is understanding, first of all, that you're getting a machine that's capable. In most cases, unless you're getting an ultra micro mini or a foot massager, you can do the same exercises on any of Life Pro's plates. But it's, sometimes you want more features. Sometimes you want something that's got a little bit more weight requirement. Maybe you're planning on using weights on the machine and you want something that's got a little bit more weight capacity. So weight capacity doesn't always speak to you personally and your physical structure. So when I say, what are you using it for? Is it going to be for feel good, fitness, a combination of both? Identify with what the goal is. Because what I don't want is you deciding on a machine, getting it home, and because you don't really have any plans for use, that it sits in the box until you go through that thought process. So what are you planning on using it for? Maybe I just want to get more active. Winter's coming. For some of us, we seasonally, I do tend to use my plates for different things depending on the time of year. I tend to be outside more in the warmer months, whereas in the winter, I tend to do more of my fitness, my exercise activities on the plate. But I'm always doing feel good and wellness and stretching and that kind of thing. So the next question, besides what are you going to be using it for, is do you need it to be portable? That's not a question everyone thinks about sometimes until after the fact. This one weighs in just under 20 pounds. This one weighs in around 38 pounds. And the reason I want you to consider whether you want it to be portable or not, for many of you that are using vibration plates for chronic symptoms, managing pain, swelling, lack of energy, or maybe it's just your lifestyle. Maybe you like using it throughout the course of the day, maybe for mental clarity. Maybe you spend too much time sitting. But portability means, maybe you want the option to move it around throughout the course of the day. So if you are dealing with a chronic issue, I in fact, as a coach, encourage you use your plate more frequently throughout the course of the day. So maybe you want it in the kitchen while you're up during the day, and maybe you want it beside the bed so you can do a session before you go to bed or when you first get up in the morning. So portability is something to think about. Just because the budget might allow, or some of you think that when you buy the biggest and the baddest and the most expensive, you're getting more fitness benefit or you're getting more gains that way. You've also got to think about where you're going to be using this. And as you become comfortable with your device, you will want to use it for more things throughout the day. So I always recommend thinking about portability. Are you going to be moving it around? And sometimes that applies if you don't have a dedicated space. So maybe you don't have a gym or you don't have a space in your living room to really set up as a workout area, and you want to be tucking it under the coffee table, or you want to tuck it under your bed. Making it selecting something a little smaller and a little bit lighter will add to the portability feature. So if you do plan on moving it around and you're not terribly strong yourself, maybe you've got a troublesome back, that's why you're looking at the machine. That's my biggest second point of all things. Do you want it to be portable? Now, the next thing I want you to consider is a little bit more getting into the demonstration side of this. There are different movement types. And many of you want to believe that the more bells and whistles and the more types of movements you get, the more benefit you're going to get from the plate. Not necessarily. If you go to the gym and you want to work on some cardio, You've got lots of different options for cardio. Maybe you like treadmills. Maybe you prefer ellipticals. Maybe you want to do a spin class. So they're all going to give you cardio benefits, but you probably prefer certain activities over others. The same is the case with vibration machines. As I said earlier, the positions that you do on the floor can be done on the machine. Different movement types have different effects. Some have more advantages over others, but for the purpose of offering low impact exercise and wellness, any mode, any setting, it really does boil down to personal choice after you use your machine for a period of time. Variety is the spice of life. I recommend, we're going to talk a bit about speeds, but when you're first starting out, the primary, the foundation, the 99% of machines out there have oscillating movement. Oscillating moves like a teeter-totter. It mimics how we walk. And regardless of where you are starting at, so what the goals are is one very important part of the equation, but where you're physically starting and any physical issues or hurdles that you may personally be dealing with can be tailored to and accommodated once you understand two very important factors on the machine. The first most important factor in oscillating, so when we're using the primary movement, regardless of which machine you select, we're going to talk about movements and which plates offer them. The control is in the placement of your hand or your feet in this movement. So the wider you go, just like a teeter-totter. Everybody forgets how a teeter-totter moves when they get on one of these machines. This can also equate to walking versus running. If you're running, you're moving faster, and the rate and the impact, the amount of impact on your heel when you're hitting the ground is much more intense than when you are walking. On this plate, when your feet are closer to the center, just like a teeter-totter, you're moving less, wider, more. And you can experiment. I'm sitting on a stool if you're dealing with chronic issues, or you're just fearful, or you just never really played with your plate. Sometimes just sitting on it and feeling how all these little modifications feel to you personally helps you better understand the capability of your equipment. For most things on the machine, I like to talk functional. You want to move better. You want to be stronger. Functional means hip width apart. So whatever that is for you, for me, standing on the machine, hip width apart is about the mid marker. Wider, if I'm doing something specific, like a wide squat, or maybe I'm doing some martial art type training. But for basic getting used to using your plate, we don't walk across the floor with our feet wider than our hips. The second lesson, besides amplitude, intensity, whatever you want to refer to it as, is angles. If you're standing completely tall, you're going to hear it in my voice. If your legs are locked, you're going to feel most of the movement traveling up your skeletal structure to the neck, the head, and the shoulders. Your body becomes like a pendulum, and all that movement has to go somewhere. But if you unlock the knees, or even better, everybody wants better, everybody wants more, work within your range of motion and bend a little bit more. Even just what we could call a light squat, you're going to feel the vibration leave the torso and the upper body, and all of a sudden you'll feel it suppresses into the legs on whatever movement you're using. But again, we're starting with oscillating. It's the primary movement, and it's the one movement that all of Life Pro's vibration plates offer. So just holding still. A lot of people ask me, well, why aren't you moving up and down? You can, but we're just starting out. I'm assuming you haven't used your plate very much, and we're just talking basics today. Many of you are dealing with joint deficiencies, new knee, you're waiting for a new knee, bad hip, bad back. And what I find, if you're not an exercise guru now and you haven't spent a lot of time working on technique of the exercises that you're trying to accomplish, they don't tend to be fairly good. So the reason I want you to just hold still, I want you to feel where the pressure, where that muscular activity is taking place. I want you to make sure that your heels are planted on the plate. The body is the laziest thing on the planet, and it's always going to try and find an easier way to like stand you up. This is easier than this is. So if you're feeling too much vibration in the head, very often without realizing, you've actually stood taller. If you're finding standing on the plate is too intense, again, you're in control. Closer is less movement, wider is more. Okay, I want you playing with that hip width position. So the next thing we would talk about is speeds. There's lots of different speeds. There's lots of preset programs. None of these are best for any one given condition. But there are general guidelines with the speeds. The slower end of them tend to be a little choppier, a little bit more wobbly. They tend to feel much like a Bosu ball or the Horizon ball if you own one of those. The really slow end in oscillating, and they are different depending on the type of movement, frequency or speed is not universal between movement styles. They each have their own speed and amplitude characteristics. We're still just talking about oscillating, which is the teeter-totter, the primary movement. But you'll find the low end of this is very choppy. And this is great for balance and stability. If you are working on those type of exercises, if you are lacking in balance and you have poor mobility and things like that, the last thing I want to do is destabilize you. What I would recommend in oscillating, bring your speed levels. So on this model, I've got a variety of 60 different speeds. On the smaller units, the Waver, the Mini, they have just oscillating. They have 100 variable speeds because that you are limited to the one movement. But what it allows you to do is mix up what you are doing. The body gets used to anything after a period of time. And if you use the same exercises or the same positions and the same settings all the time, after a period of time, you're still feeling good, but you're kind of maintaining versus improving and continually challenging. So in the mid-range, you'll find that it gets a little smoother. It's not as choppy and as wobbly feeling as those slow movements. And if you're dealing with chronic issues or you're just starting to exercise for the first time, I always say start conservative, not slowly. When we say slow, when we hear slowly, we think slow speed. But instinctively, somehow, you guys always think that you need to be wide with your feet. Like the machine is going to beat you up and do the work more somehow. No, be functional. Bring those feet closer together. Bring the speed up. And I think you'll find if you were to try that same squat at a mid speed versus the low speed, it's going to feel a little smoother, a little more tonic. And because we're getting more movement, you're probably going to fatigue faster. So if, fitness is the goal, it doesn't need to be a big old routine. It can just be 3 to 4 simple exercises, regardless of what plate you're choosing. Now, like I said, when selecting a plate, you want to make sure, if it's not a little obvious, because I've done the demo in this movement till now, there are different movement styles. My preferred for everyone is oscillating. It's got the most research. It's the most functional. And it is the one mode that every model offers. So let's say you don't need portability. You do want something that's got a few more features. You are a techie person. If you're not, playing lots of apps or you like simplistic, push a button, 1, 2, 3, lean towards the Waver or the Mini, the Turbo, the Hover. Those models have less features, therefore less buttons, less functions to figure out. But they both offer oscillating. The Rumblex models have 3 different movements. Now, we've covered the first one, the oscillating. The next mode on them, the one that looks like side to side movement, is what's we refer to that one as, pulsation. Pulsation first here. So pulsation is the wavy small lines if you're dealing with the Rumblex or you're looking online. Pulsation is a mild, very mild vertical movement. What I mean by vertical is the entire surface of the plate is moving up and down. But the amplitude, the amount of movement, like we were talking about earlier, is fixed to like 0.2 points. You can hear it. It's just buzzing. I've got it on the cord or something here, guys. There. So this mode, hang on, I screwed up. Pulsation is going to be, anytime you're standing on the plate, you're adding the benefits of circulation, lymphatic. There's some soft stuff that comes with any movement. But pulsation is a milder, kinder place to start if you are dealing with fatigue, neuropathy, chronic issues that maybe deter you from traditional exercising. And what I recommend if you're going to use pulsation and you are dealing, neuropathy comes to mind because it's a good setting to use in a seated position. So pulsation is a mild setting where you'll feel the stimulation, but not much up beyond the knee. You're not going to see the movement. It's very, very small, less than a millimeter of movement, but the speed of the movement, how many times the plate is moving, is much faster than an oscillating. Not everyone's an engineer. Not everyone was great at science, but things can only move so far, so fast. And on a vibration plate, your body parts, your muscles are no different. On pulsation, because you're moving much less distance, you can work with a much higher speed. The machine needs to move and react, as do your muscles. Whereas on the oscillating movement, you're moving much greater distances potentially, and the speed ranges tend to be slower. There's a combination of factors here, but I think what you'll find with the pulsation, overall, it feels very mild. It's a nice stimulus for relaxation. It is a great way to mix things up in combination with other modes, but I wouldn't recommend buying a machine just for pulsation. And I think you'll see that if that's what you were looking for with LifePro, it's lacking. It's a nice to have, but vertical movement on its own, those styles of machines tend to have much larger amplitudes. They tend to be a much greater investment. They're louder. They're a different type of device. And in my experience, in all the vibration machines out there working with medical grade, you name it, I've been on it. I've probably taken it apart and putting it back together. Oscillating is the most used, most preferred, and most tolerated by more users. The last movement, again, if you are dealing with a Rumblex model, is lateral. So lateral, the entire surface of the machine moves in this direction, and the symbol looks this way as well. It is the last movement, and the entire, you can see this one on camera, the entire surface of the plate is moving side to side. Not a ton of research behind this side of movement. Some of these movements and the development in the market of them came from folks like you. I want a machine that moves this way. I want one that feels like this. Just because, there's not a ton of scientific research behind it, we know there's a lot of evidence behind what movement and moving our body does to benefit our lymphatic, our circulation, and many other systems. So what lateral is it's just a different movement style. You can mix this up. Some of this is in the preset programs. You can use each of them individually. But when you're selecting a machine, if you are looking at a plate with 2 or more movements, so for example, the Rumblex I'm on today, we've demonstrated oscillating, we've done pulsation, and we've also done lateral. You can also combine these movements 2 at a time, 3 at a time. That's where the 2D, 3D terminology comes from. But each type of movement has its own motor and mechanical housing. So the reason the machines get heavier, because I have people say to me, well, I want one that's got all the movements, but I want it to be cute and little, and I want to be able to pack it in my purse. Each movement style is a different motor, different mechanical system. So the more movements you have, not only will the plate size tend to be larger to house that, but it's going to be heavier. You've got 2 motors or 3 motors versus 1. So sometimes it's not the way that Joel and the folks at LifePro make them. It's just the laws of engineering and the way that the machines are made. So oscillating again, if you're looking at bare minimum, bare bones purchase, you don't have a big budget, you don't have a lot of space, all of LifePro's plates offer oscillating, and the best entry-level starting model that I recommend is the Mini. I love the Mini for a couple reasons. I want to bring it a little closer. It's very simplistic in its operation. It's got power, speed. It's got some preset programs. It's got time. For most of my clients, they are not looking to become exercise gurus. And if exercise gains are the goal, they certainly want to keep things simple. If you're looking for a few more bells and whistles, a few more features, perhaps stepping up, my next favorite combo device would probably be the turbo. If I had to pick two movements, I do like pulsation for certain applications, and I of course use oscillating for everything. My next step up would probably be the Rumblex 4D Plus. It has all of the movements, it has all of the features, and it has a flat plate surface. Curved plates tend to present a little bit more challenge. Again, there is no right or wrong. It is very much a preference, and my experience with the curved plates is my athletic users tend to appreciate that added resistance that they offer. But for many of my medical users, for those of you that are dealing with long-term chronic issues, flat is functional. It's like walking on the ground. So I would lean towards the flat, either the Rumblex Plus or the Max is a nice model as well, especially if you're looking for higher weight capacity, whether that's for your own structure or maybe you're wanting to incorporate some mass into your workouts. I hope that gave you a little bit of insight. Some of the other things I want you to just keep in mind, if you're deciding between what machine, regardless of what machine you pick, it's not going to do the work for you. You have to show up. You have to do the work. You have to commit to it. And in my experience, if you just start moving and feeling better and enjoying the feel-good advantages that these offer over any other form of activity, if you're dealing with chronic issues and they've been beating you down for some time, just moving and feeling better goes a long way, especially towards the motivation if the goal is exercise. I'm looking at my notes. And remember, it's an environment. It's not a matter of, this mode is best for that, or this setting is better for this condition. It really is an individual thing. You've got to be realistic in what you're starting with physically, mentally, what the background is. And if you're walking into this with no exercise history whatsoever, pretty much anyone can benefit in some way, shape, or form from a vibration plate. But I would recommend, if you're selecting one, reflect who you are. If you're complicated and you got 20 devices and you've got a good routine and you're disciplined, you probably would enjoy some of the features and the complexity that some of the Rumblex models offer. If you're looking basic, simple, you don't want to be intimidated or overwhelmed, take a look at the Mini, the Waver, the Turbo, or the Hovert models. Sometimes when you're selecting a machine, it's not what the next door neighbor is using or what your yoga teacher experienced. Make it a personal decision and be realistic with yourself in what you're going to use it for. The best ways to be successful: start conservatively, not slowly. Keep your time short. Use some of the tips I showed you today. Bring the feet closer together and play with those higher speeds, and be consistent. Whether you're doing a little or a lot, consistency is the key to obtaining not only the energy levels and the mental clarity and some of the soft stuff that you experience almost immediately within first trying a session. But if you want those benefits to stick around, consistency really is the key. Especially long-term, if you're looking at things like bone density, weight loss, improving the health overall. So thank you for listening. For those of you that have a machine now, if it's collecting dust, I'm here every Monday, and I do have lots of just support and learning groups that I provide, as well as in addition to the videos, the many videos that Life Pro offers between myself, Roseanne, and Amber. Sometimes we forget how much information has already been done, and some of these sessions are repetitive, but we are very short in our attention span. And again, appealing to those that may have a machine that's collecting dust. Start simple. Just start doing a foot massage or sitting on a stool like I've done. Maybe start doing a couple of squats in the morning, get that metabolism boosted and get those energy levels up. You don't have to beat yourself up If you're not working out on it, start moving and feeling better. A lot of people make the right decision. There's no, I bought the right machine, I bought the wrong machine. Just get started. Start moving and feeling better. You're the only one in your way for moving forward and benefiting from the technology that you've done the homework on. If you've got a machine and, like I say, you're just not motivated or you're fearful, lots of resources out there. Tag me at Debbie with a Y if you do have a question specific to today's session, whether it's selecting a machine or you're just not feeling so motivated. Maybe you're dealing with a medical concern or you've spooked yourself. The worst you're going to do is over exercise yourself if you have overdone it on a machine. And sometimes it's just a matter of changing your approach or modifying, the positions that you're doing to accommodate where you're in right now. So be curious, seek answers, and there's never one path to that finish line, and we're here to support you with answers regardless of where you may be starting with your plate. And again, if you're considering a vibration plate, you've been on the fence and you're not really sure which way to go, lots of choices out there. Take a look in the mirror, look at that personality, and just because you're willing to or able to invest more and get the biggest and the fanciest model doesn't always mean it's the most conducive choice for your lifestyle. So if you do have questions, you're watching this on a recorded basis, tag me at Debbie with a Y. And I look forward to seeing you here next Monday, probably the same time, same place. And you guys have a great rest of the week. If I don't have any questions, no questions on a Question Monday. Well, I see there's a few of you here. I hope I haven't talked you to sleep. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Don't work too hard, and I'll see you again next Monday. Thanks for joining me today, guys.